It's often suggested that in the history of philosophy, vision has been privileged over and above the other senses. For instance, in ancient Greek philosophy, a lot of the words for knowing have their roots in vision. Even the word theoria, from which we get theory, and even theater, interestingly, originally meant to look attentively or to behold. Hans Blumenberg, in fact, argues that the Greeks' love of vision is attributable to the beautiful light that shines on the sunny region of Greece. Socrates calls vision the most sun-like of the senses in the Republic, and he thinks that it's superior to the other senses. Nevertheless, in Plato's dialogues, Socrates maintains that vision cannot give us true knowledge. So at most, there's going to be an analogous relation between vision and knowledge, because true knowledge is over and beyond the senses in the realm of forms, which we cannot see with our eyes because they exist in this immutable, eternal realm that is beyond the senses. So on the one hand, Socrates says that the senses don't give us true knowledge. He says this explicitly, for instance, in the Theaetetus, because the senses only give us perception, which is relative. But then on the other hand, Socrates is always using these metaphors of vision as analogies for true knowledge, as if he couldn't cast off the language of vision in his theories. And I think you see a similar thing as well in ancient Vedic scripture. So this isn't just something you see in Western philosophy. In ancient Vedic scriptures, there's some key similarities, but also a very interesting difference. And I'm going to focus here on the Upanishads. Even though the Upanishads was recorded over a much longer span of time than the Platonic dialogues, there are some interesting commonalities between different Upanishads on the sense of vision and its relation to knowledge. Like Plato's dialogues, the Upanishads insist that ultimate reality is beyond the bounds of the senses. The Kena Upanishad, for instance, says that sight does not reach there, in speaking of this domain. And this is because reality, as figured by Brahman, the essence of the cosmos and the formulation of truth, is imperishable and eternal, while the senses have to do with mortal bodies. But interestingly, you also see that, like the dialogues, there are numerous metaphors of vision in the account of ultimate reality that we get in various Upanishads. So the Upanishads would use spatial metaphors, such as saying that truth is hidden, or talking about the cave of the heart. Although sight in the Upanishads is most often appears within a list of the vital functions. So there's less of an emphasis than, say, in Socrates, where he says that vision is the most sun-like of the senses and talks about vision a lot on its own. Vision in the Upanishads is often sort of within this list of vital functions. But a really key difference between the Vedic and Greek view, which, as I'm suggesting, both say that vision is not how we get to ultimate reality, but nonetheless use language that sort of treats vision as an analogy, is the status of reason. We've seen that in ancient Greek thought, there's a dissociation of vision from reason, because reason can reach the realm of ultimate reality, whereas vision and the other senses cannot. But the Upanishads deny even this. For Vedic understanding, both vision and reason need to be cast aside in the pursuit of encountering the cosmos as it really is. For instance, here's a quote from the Katha Upanishad. When the five perceptions are stilled together with the mind, and not even reason bestirs itself, they call it the highest state. So it seems like the link between reason and vision, which you perhaps see in the Platonic dialogues, is less of a problem for the Upanishads, because reason, and therefore the traces of vision, do not get us to ultimate reality. There are many, many, many other places that we could go in talking about the privileging of vision in the history of philosophy. I've chosen to just focus on a little bit from ancient philosophy. But if you want to hear more about this, and especially how philosophers since then have been thinking about this, check out Overthink podcast episode on vision. We did a whole series on the five senses, and the vision episode is one of them. And you can also listen to some expert interviews with folks who specialize in vision here on our YouTube channel. As always, the podcast episodes are the place to go for a longer, more extended, and critical discussion of the topics that we talk about in much shorter form here on our YouTube channel.